All right. This is Frank Salinas. Thank you guys for being here. I have my good friend Ty Cohen. Ty, how you doing?
Man, I am doing awesome, excited, and I can't wait to hear what I'm going to say and what you're going to say.
All right, that's good. For those of you, I'm excited too. Every week I'm coming out, I'm interviewing friends of mine, and then actually they're going to probably introduce me to other people they know. And I just want to bring value to people that follow you, follow me. And I told this to Ron Douglas before. I'm thinking about this for my kids and their kids and their kids so that they can learn from their grandpas and great-grandpas and from their fathers and mothers on what it is to build a successful life, because I'm still learning, and I want to learn from people like you on how I can improve my life, my business, and just live better. And I think everyone wants the same thing. Everyone wants to be happy, and that starts with following people that are making it happen. So thank you for being here, Ty. And for those who don't know Ty's a publishing expert, internet marketing expert, personal development coach, and he's known for helping tons and tons of people learn how to publish books online and even on Amazon Kindle. And his businesses have generated millions of dollars online and offline. And he's here to share his expertise and his knowledge. And I know you're going to like it. I know you're going to have fun and get a lot of value. And Ty's an expert when it comes to Amazon Kindle and publishing and all things marketing. So thank you for being here, Ty.
Hey man, I'm excited, and you're putting a lot of pressure on. So let's see what happens.
All right, no problem. And pressure's good, right? That's where diamonds come from, right? So
that is it.
What
hey,
advice?
Frank, before we get started, man, I just want to say I love the concept. I appreciate what you're doing, and I think that there's a lot of people out there that are experienced and new that are going to benefit from this gratefully. So, hey man, I'm wishing you the best with this.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Ty. And that's the thing. It's like I want this to be something that helps people, and not just for entrepreneurs, but let's just say someone's in a corporate job or they're at a job. Something you might say today might help them get a raise. It might help them perform better. It might help them get those days off that they've been wanting without having to beg their boss. You just never know. And you just never know until you ask the questions. And so what I've learned is there's no wrong question. So hopefully the things I ask will deliver value to those watching and listening. So as far as entrepreneurship and just going forward, doing your own thing, blazing a trail and wanting to start your own business, or you have a business, what advice would you give someone who's just starting out, whether they want to become a digital marketer, whether they have a restaurant, maybe they join some sort of home business, whatever it is, we all, when it comes to successful people, they all have some similar traits and characteristics and mindsets that are the same. So what advice would you give someone who's just starting out with entrepreneurship? Yeah,
very good question. Awesome question. And I get this a lot, right? I get it from people that I know, that I coach, people from around the planet, people of all ages, people from all backgrounds. And I actually just got this from my wife in a kind of a roundabout way over the weekend. So she's looking to start a business. She's got a couple of ideas. She's a nurse right now, right? She wants to do her own thing. And she's got a ton of awesome ideas, right? And I think they're all good. And I told her, I said, listen, baby, you have to find one. I said, yeah, this idea is great. This idea is great. This idea is great. But you have to find one. You start working on that one. You get it up and running. And then you can move on to the next one. Because the way the mind works is, and we teach this in marketing too. You give a prospect one action to take at a time. You want them to come to your website and make a purchase. Well, that's all that you should be trying to get them to do is make that purchase. You don't want them to try to, go ahead and like you on Facebook, go ahead and subscribe to your YouTube channel and do all this other stuff, because then you remove the core intent from them, which is to make that purchase, right? So the same thing with us as entrepreneurs. Now, this is the gift and the curse. The gift is that we have a ton of different ideas. Always. Myself, I battle with this as well.
Yes. Yeah.
The curse is we only have a limited amount of time to put them all together, right? And we can't focus on all of them at one time until we get to the point where we start to grow, we learn to leverage, we learn to outsource, we build a team and things like that. But when you're first starting off, you take that one idea and you work on it. And I have a saying, and Frank, you may have seen me post this a gazillion times on Facebook, and that is stay focused.
Yes.
You take that one idea and you stay focused. This one principle right here, when I first got it, I mean, it literally has helped me to go from like making $3,000 or $4,000 a month to having my first $1 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything that I did, everything that came in place, every email that I opened, I said, okay, is this going to get me to where I want to be? Or is it going, one or two things are going to happen. Either the actions that you take on a regular basis are going to get you to where you want to be, or they're going to pull you away from where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So if you question each action and each thought that comes into your head with simply asking, where is it going to take me? Away or towards? And then you have your answer. So that's going to be the most difficult thing, is just having the discipline to start with that one thing, staying focused on it, and then everything else starts to become exponentially easier. I know that was a long-winded answer, but
so stay focused.
Stay focused.
Yeah,
that's it.
And I know that's, some people say, well, that's easy for you, or that's so expanding on that. Let's say someone is someone like me in 2006, 2007, even recently. Sometimes, like you said, let's say we got more than one idea and we have something that makes money. And I've seen this happen because it happened to me. I was making money in this industry or this, doing this specific thing. Right. And then some buddies of mine start making money with this other thing. And I'm like, man, I want to do that too. I want to go make money with Amazon Kindle and all this other stuff. Next thing you know, I start doing that.
Yeah.
And what was making me money starts going down, right? So what do you do to combat that shiny object? Because entrepreneurs, man, we want to solve problems. We want to do things done. We want to do everything, and we're overachievers. And so what do you do to combat that? Other than just staying focused. What has helped you before?
So long-term goals are good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I got a friend, Jermaine Griggs, who I'm sure you heard of before, right? Jermaine's a very successful marketer, and he said, and we had this conversation maybe about 7 or 8 years ago. He says, Ty, you know what? A lot of people don't look towards the long term. He says, a lot of folks don't even look a year ahead, 5 years ahead. And I was guilty. When he was saying that, I'm really assessing myself. I'm like, Jesus Christ, he's talking to me. Now, I didn't say that during our conversation, right? Because I don't want to, seem like the guy. But we're all guilty of that, right? We think, especially nowadays with social media, and we've got like this microwave society where we want things instantly. So we're thinking for the moment. But if you think long term, I think it makes it a little bit easier to stay focused. The other thing is there's always going to be ideas. And as you become more successful, guess what happens? As you become more successful and more known, as your name gets out there more ideas are going to come to you because more people now reach out to you.
Yes.
Right? You start to become more aware of more things, right? You talk about Ron, like Ron's doing some awesome stuff right now with webinars. And, I said, man, what Ron's doing is cool. I should start doing that. And I had to think and say, let me reel myself back in. So one of the things that I've started to do is I give myself a 24-hour to 72-hour cooling off period, where I think about it for 24 hours to 72 hours, because then at that point, you now have a little bit of time to think about it, and you start to become a little bit more rational when you have time versus more impulsive. So now the key is remembering to do that, right? Remembering to give yourself that 24 to 72-hour period. The other thing is, as you start to see some success, you start with business A, right? And then you have another idea that comes up. Outsourcing and just having other people on your team is going to be one of the best things that you can do, right? So you start with business A, and then you get that to a point where you can send this to someone else, and they're now running it for the most part, right?
Right.
And then you can go in and start with business B. And then you can go in and start with business C. You repeat that process. The biggest issue that you might have is relinquishing control, right? That's the other thing with us entrepreneurs. We think that we can do it all. We think that we can wear all hats. We're guilty of that. And we forget that it's better to have someone do something 90% as good, 70% as good, than us trying to do 100% of it and then neglecting everything else that we could possibly be doing. So
right. And then because at that point it doesn't become fun anymore, and you're not as interested anymore, because now it becomes daunting and tiring, and you feel like you got everything on your shoulders. Well, you should have assigned it to someone else who could easily take it over and do it. And then you just check in on them and then have them report to you, whether it's daily or every other day or whatever.
Absolutely.
There. So maybe let's go on that. As far as outsourcing or building a team, how soon should someone do that? When the business is profitable or on the way, or stretch yourself? How soon should you start putting together a team if you know something's working?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. You got some really good questions. So as soon as you start to have some profit, right? I think that, and the first person that you should hire is an assistant or an executive assistant. If you don't have an assistant or an executive assistant, then guess who's the assistant?
Yeah.
You are, right? You're the assistant. And the cool thing about it is now there's so many sites out there like Upwork, right? Upwork.com. There's Guru.com, Guru.com, where you can go in, you can hire people that don't even live in your city or your state. You can hire people virtually. You can hire people on a part-time basis, part-time basis. I have about 20 people that work for me. I've got 4 that are in my office physically. I've got an office about 2 minutes away from where I live here. And the other 16 or so are all virtual people. Guess how many work full-time for me?
One.
There's 2 that work full-time, and everyone else works, part-time. So when I first got started, it was kind of hard for me to go in mentally and outsource, because I'm thinking, I don't have the money to pay someone for 40 hours. I don't have the money to pay someone for 30 hours, right? What am I going to have them do? Instead of hiring someone, I might as well do it myself. And I didn't realize that the time that I was spending on customer support, answering emails, or building websites, which I suck at, right? I could have been giving that to someone else, and then I could have focused on the things that I'm good at, which is the marketing, right? The psychology of what it takes to get someone to buy. Looking at other markets, researching audiences and things like that. So use some of these sites like the Upwork, the Guru.com. Go in and put up a test project, and you say, hey, listen, I'm looking for someone to help me with customer support for 5 hours a week or 3 hours a week, right? And because you're not dealing with this person physically one-on-one, it becomes a lot easier to do that. So put that up, and you'll be amazed at the number of responses that you get. You'll get people that are coming in that are bidding at $7 an hour, $4 an hour, and you think $4 an hour, $5 an hour, you're probably saying, hey, those are slave wages there. But for someone in the Philippines, or for someone that's in another country, that's pretty competitive there. And it's a win-win for both you and that individual. So you're actually helping them and helping yourself as well.
Exactly. Yeah, because I have some assistants that have been helping us for the years, and I've given them a raise here and there, and they're still under $4 an hour, because when they first started, they said, give me this. And I said, you good with that price? They said, yes. So every 6 to 9 months, we'll review things, and then give them extra per hour, and they're happy, because where they're at, like you're saying, in the Philippines, that's good money. Now things change, and it might go up to $5 an hour in the next year or two, but whatever, it's better than you hiring somebody right here in your local neighborhood, and a teenager's wanting already $12 an hour, and they haven't even proven themselves yet.
Yeah, I got 2 of them here that's in this house that are doing.
Yeah, but no, that's good. So you want to, one of my mentors says you want to become good at the replacement game. So you want to learn how to replace yourself in as many areas as you can, so that you focus only on what's the best for you and your business, right? The money making activities, and the things that are going to help you.
And the things like that are going to make it fun. You said something, right, where it starts to become not fun anymore. If you're doing the things that, you got started with, I don't know, whatever the business could be, arts and crafts, right? Because you love arts and crafts. But customer support comes into play, and you're dealing with customers, and this guy didn't get his order, and that one, ordered the wrong color. That's the stuff that may not be fun to you. Yeah. Right. So then it becomes, hey, why did I even get in business anyway? So
right.
Yeah, absolutely. I like what you said about that.
So so for the new people, maybe people that they've been in business, whatever their business is, like we were talking about earlier, having more than one focus on things. How does someone know which thing they should focus on? Let's say they already have 3 things in the fire. They got 3 or 4 irons in the fire that have made some money here, made some money there. how does one determine which one they're going to really focus on, other than, well, hell, I like this, I like that, I kind of like all 3 or 4 different things that I'm doing, and they're all bringing in some money. How does one, as an entrepreneur, decide, you know what, this is the one I'm going to stick to. The other ones are going to have to wait until I make this one happen.
Right.
Then I can get somebody on the other ones.
Very, very good question again. It's the one that you think about the most.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about this. I first got started in business for my first business when I was about 18 or 19 years old. Mm-hmm. And man, it was something that I just thought about like all day. It was just like something that, you know, I woke up like thinking about, like, and I just hated to go to sleep because I wanted to do more of it. So it's, and not everyone's going to be there, right? But it's the one that I liken it to, listen, I've been married for almost 15 years now, right? So I'm way out of this game, but I liken it to like dating, right? You've got 2 or 3 people that you're interested in, right? And there's got to be one that you think about more than the others, right? Yeah. And so that's the one. Now, unfortunately, with dating, you can't always have the one that you think about the most. Yeah. But in business, you could, right? So that, for me, that's the easy answer. The one that you think about the most, the one that you're researching, the one that people may ask you the most questions about, the one that your significant, your husband, your wife says, will you stop talking about this freaking thing to me, right? I'm tired of hearing you talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so that's the one right there.
Okay, and then for those who don't know who Ty is, can you, let's go back, let people know, you know, because you weren't always making your first $1 million every year. You weren't always making good money like you are now. Where did you come from? Tell us a little bit about your background so they can see that, oh, if he can do it, I can do it. Because a lot of people, you know, especially on social media, they'll go look at these people and they'll go see people that are successful, and they'll automatically shortchange themselves like, well, that's good for him because, you know, he's so good, he's so smart, he's so nice, he's so handsome, whatever the excuse they tell themselves.
I'm so handsome all the time.
Right. But what we've got to realize is, I got to remember too, is the wind of life blows on us all, right? Like Jim Rohn said. And, you know, everyone has stuff that they go through, and you're not going to see it on Facebook or Instagram because that's a filter. We put what we want to share with our family and our friends and people that follow us. But we're not going to put all our, you know, oh my God, I got a flat tire today. Of course, some people might, but, you know, people go through stuff. So let people know where Ty came from, you know, how your background was, what you had to deal with, what you had to overcome, so they can see, guess what, you know, after they hear from you, they're going to be inspired to know that whatever they're going through, they just got to keep at it. Yeah,
and that's the key right there, is to keep at it. You know, I came from very humble beginnings. I grew up in the Northeast, one of the worst areas that you can grow up in at the time because of drugs and the crime in that area. I actually grew up in a housing project called Father Panic Village, and Ron Douglas, who you had interviewed as well, he actually, I don't know if you saw my post or not, but I'm in the process of finding someone to shoot some film and short documentaries and things like that. So he was like, dude, you should, you know, tell your story, right? That would make an awesome short film. Yeah. Which is not the direction I'm looking to go into. It's more like mysteries and sci-fi and stuff like that. But long story short is, I grew up in Father Panic Village, and if you go in and you Google Father Panic Village, you'll see that this was one of the most notorious housing projects at the time. It was just insane. And on top of that, I was born with something called sickle cell anemia, right? So sickle cell anemia is a blood disorder that causes an extreme amount of pain. Most people have very shortened lives that have it, right? My sister died when she was 27 because of sickle cell anemia and complications of it. The doctors didn't expect me to live past the age of 17. I actually heard them telling my mom that one day. And I actually kind of thought that was going to be my reality, like either dying from sickle cell anemia or dying because of the environment that I was in, right? I saw a lot of murder and things like that. And a lot of my close family and friends actually suffered because of that stuff. And I didn't have, when I first got interested in business, I had no role models at all. No one at all. The only thing I had was the library, and it was just taking a bus downtown Bridgeport to the library whenever I could, and just staying in there for like hours at a time, studying like the Gary Halberts and, You mentioned Jim Rohn and studying like the Gary Benzabangas and copywriting and marketing and stuff like that, and just being really just thinking about it all the time. So it wasn't through just having like a role model that I can follow directly. I think people now, when they're trying to start a business, man, you've got Google, like you have like YouTube, you've got Facebook groups, you've got the Franks who are doing stuff like this, right? So you've got so many different paths that you can follow. So I think that if there's something that you want to do, all of the information is already out there right now, right? You go in, you take the information, you stand at one path, and you just throw it out there. So that's it in a nutshell. Everyone has that opportunity.
And so what got you interested in the marketing aspect? Did you see something? Did you hear something one day that made you start looking at it? Or did someone mention something? How did that happen? Because let's say you're in school, you're in high school. At what year was it, or how old were you when it made you want to become something related to entrepreneurship or marketing? What turned that on? Do you remember what may have caused that?
Yeah, absolutely. So two things. So the first thing, I'm 17 years old. I worked at Walgreens Pharmacy, right? And I got invited to my boss's wedding. Now, I lived in Bridgeport. He lived in Fairfield, and Fairfield was a very affluent area. Lots of movie stars like Hulk Hogan and Regis Philbin and Diana Ross, and these guys had big mansions and huge houses. Now, I'm in Bridgeport housing projects, right? We got like 4 or 5 people in a house. And the first time I ever saw like affluence where there was huge houses was when I went to my boss's wedding. And I'm looking around and I'm like, holy crap, are you serious? Like people live like this? And it like totally blew my mind. So the whole entire day there, I'm like in a daze, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. Sometimes you just don't have to know how. Sometimes you have to have the desire and you don't have to know how. So I said, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but living in the ghetto in the hood for the rest of my life is not going to be where I stay. I said, not only is that not going to be where I stay, but I'm also going to make sure that I take my mom out, I take my family out as well, and I show other people the way. So just having that why, that cause is what I think really helped me to get there, because it was like you have this burning desire sometimes, and as long as you listen to it, you start to see the clues. You start to see different things that move you on the path, even if you have no idea as to how you're going to do it. I had no idea how I was going to start a business.
Right.
I had no idea how, going back to your question, I had no idea how I was going to get out of the hood. And it wasn't until I started to go to the library and I started to read about marketing and entrepreneurship. And I'm hearing Gary Halbert, and I'm seeing him and I'm reading what he's saying, I've made X amount of money. Then the light bulb went off. This is how I'll do it. I'll start my own business, right? I'll become good at it. I'll make money. I was a little bit delusional. I'll make, a gazillion dollars in my first year, and then we'll move out and we'll be living in Fairfield. That didn't happen in that way. But I got my taste of entrepreneurship, started making money, and then slowly but surely things started to happen. So there we go.
Yeah, that's good. And how old were you when you first started reading the books? You said you're 17?
About 17, yeah.
Yeah, and so you mentioned something when you went to the boss's wedding, right? How important it is, because my wife and I talk about this all the time. We have family that is in certain areas in Chicago and things like that, and we've talked about how, man, if they would just venture out a little bit and see that there's another world.
Yeah.
How important is that to get around things that inspire you that maybe you're not there yet, right? But like to go to the hotel or go to the ballroom or to go to an event where you're like, holy crap, man, this is nice. How important is that, getting around and whether right now they might be in a situation where they're not, they're looking at their bills, they're looking at they got that pink notice, for the water and things like that. How do they get out of that? Because when you're there just looking at your, what it is, your bills, you're 3 months behind on this. How do they get out of that so they can realize that that's just, it just takes a shift to where they can start moving in the right direction? Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is a great question. I'm loving this, Frank. I'm loving it more and more. So yeah, so those paradigm shifts, and for me, that is exactly what it was. It was a paradigm shift. Being able to see Because up until 17, where I lived at, and Bridgeport, Five Panic Village, and the crime and continuously seeing that and the murder, that was my reality. I didn't understand that being able to go somewhere else, and sometimes it's just traveling across town.
Yeah.
Right? So like this was literally from where I lived to, let me think so I can make sure I'm giving you the right info. But it was literally about 25 minutes away from where I lived to where my boss lived. And it was a huge difference. Mm-hmm. So after that, one of my things became driving around and looking at nice houses, man. I still love doing that. I got an 11-year-old summer. On Saturdays, I have it actually on my phone, on my calendar, 8 o'clock in the morning, I get a notice on Saturdays, drive around and look at properties with Summer. Because that's something that she loves to do, and I love to do it. So we'll go in, we'll look at open houses, we live in a pretty nice house here. Mm-hmm. But I want to expose her to that as well, and she loves doing it. So it's daddy-daughter time. And we go and do some things that are not only mind-expanding for myself, but also mind-expanding for her as well. Yes. Vacations, man. We take our kids on, and not everyone, listen, starting out, we weren't able to do these things. Right. But you could go across town. You could take a vacation to a museum, right? You could take a vacation to the next state over, right? You go in, you stay in a hotel, you take $100, $200. I think you have to get a loan to do this stuff. I think it's really worth it to open up your mind. And you go to the next state, right? And you stay there for a day or for two, right? You take yourself or your family, or even if sometimes, listen, your family's not going to always be on board. So you might have to do this stuff on your own, right? You don't let someone else stop your dreams because they don't see it yet, right? But travel, I think, is big. If you notice, like we took our kids, we got 4 kids. We took them to Thailand. We went out there for almost a month. We went to from China to Bangkok, and then we stayed in Bangkok for about 10 days. Then we went to Chiang Mai. We stayed there for about 10 days, and then and stayed there for about 2 days. And we see the kids, they're picking up the language. They know how to say things like Saudi Kap and Kap and different things like that, and they're interacting with the people. We went to Italy, and we just take them different places because it's mind expanding. You can even get this from reading, right? You can get this from watching videos on YouTube, but the actual experience of driving out to the next town, looking at these big houses, looking at how other people live, and the emotion and the visualization that you put behind that is super important. You see big houses, and instead of saying, man, those people are lucky, those freaking rat bastards, right? You say, oh my God, if they did it, I can do it. Use me, Ty. Hey, listen, if Ty did it, I could do it. I didn't go to college, right? For long.
Right. Yeah, I went too, but yeah, it didn't last long, about a year, but yes.
Same here, you know? So I mean, great question. And I think that's something that everyone needs to really hone in on.
Yeah. And going off of that again, and I'm just going with the, you know, what we're talking about here, environment. Let's say someone knows, like you said, you went to that wedding and that made you get inspired, or that inspired you. It's self-awareness, right? If people don't know that they have a chance, or they can get out of their circumstances, then they'll never know, right? Until someone makes them realize it. Let's say the people that are watching this, obviously, they have some sort of self-awareness, because if not, they would have already clicked on through, right? But they're listening, they're watching this. How important is someone's environment? Let's say they're wanting to, let's say they want to hit their first $10,000 a month. They want to start making $5,000 a month part-time, or $20,000, or $1 million a year, or $100,000 a month. How important is their environment that they might not realize that it's either helping them or hindering them?
Super important. Very important, you know. Something like if you would have told me, I don't know, 20 years ago, hey, making $10,000 a month is possible, I would have thought like, yeah, right.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Or yeah, it's possible, but you got to be super smart. You got to be like a neurosurgeon, or you've got to be someone that did well in school all the time, or you've got to be, you got to be well connected. That was the thing too. You have to have the network, or you have to have the money, right? You can only do that if you have the money. takes money to make money. We always hear things like that really kind of hold us back.
Yeah.
And that's far from true, especially with the internet now. You have to have the right connections to make money. Not at all, right? Especially with the internet now.
Mm-hmm.
So the environment is, I got a friend, Greg Caesar. I think you know Greg, right? Do you know Greg?
I think so. Is he with the classified ad guy?
Yeah. Yep. We actually were talking to him at the Warrior event when you were there.
Yeah.
So listen, when I first got started with speaking, even before speaking on stage, Greg was doing it, right? Greg was doing it, and he would go out to London and speak, and he would go out to this place, to San Diego, and to Florida, and he'd come back and, dude, I closed 30% of a room. Or, dude, I made $60,000, or I made $80,000 in 90 minutes. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, man, it's like, and I'm like, Greg, yeah, he can do this. He's charismatic. Greg's a smart guy. He's got these funny looking little glasses. Maybe it's the glasses that people like. That's why they're buying from him. Yeah. Greg, if you see this, I'm kidding with you. Yeah. But we always put, what happens is two things happen. When people have results, we tend to elevate them, and we tend to de-elevate ourselves. So we create this gap, right? Instead of realizing that if this person did it, I could do it as well. I just have to figure out what it is that they did. So after hearing this, from Greg a lot, I started to get a little bit envious. I'm like, this rat, he's making freaking all of this money. How can I do it? So I started to ask him questions. Greg, so what are some of the things I need to do? Or who are some of the people that I could be plugged into to start speaking from the stage? And what should I do? What type of mannerisms? Or, how do you close? How do you increase your closing rate? So it's all about asking the right question. So getting around the right people is going to be one of the biggest things that helps you to get to the next level. And the same with being around the wrong people. I mean, being around the wrong people, we always hear about this crab in a bucket mentality, right? You can have people that are subconsciously envious of you, and they may not even know it. It could be people that love you, but want you to be extremely cautious because they are not aware of expanding even more. So if something seems foreign to them, they're going to try to protect you from doing it. Listen, my own mom, I invest in a lot of real estate, right? My own mother, who I love to death, who loves me, right, always says, you should be careful. Right. Don't do this. Don't invest in real estate. Or tenants are bad, right? And I always heard, rich people are greedy and all of these other things. And money doesn't grow on trees growing up. Yeah. Right? And it wasn't until I got older when I said, oh, my God, there's so much subconscious programming that takes place within us that if we really believe this stuff, which a lot of us do, until we become aware of it, then it will really hold us back. Yes. So now, even now, when I take my mom on these drive-bys to look at houses and properties that I'm thinking about investing in, I actually stopped taking her about 6 months ago because I didn't want to hear the whole, even after having multiple properties.
Exactly. You've already had successes with already many properties, and she's still
because it's conditioning.
Yes.
Right. So you have to be careful. So you'll get the most from people that are closest to you. Could be a husband, could be a wife, could be a mom. Right. And they just, sometimes, again, they love you. They don't mean anything by it, but they just don't know, as you said.
Yeah, exactly. And how important, you said, it could be family. How important is it to have your spouse, for those that are married or, have a fiance or something, husband, how important is it for you guys to share, maybe not exact the same vision, but know that you're going towards the same direction, right? Because, I mean, I've seen in the business, especially digital marketing, where you might have a guy he's the one that's doing everything, and the wife is kind of like, she doesn't really have her own thing going on, and she's just bored out of her mind when he's talking about this stuff. And so how important is it to, include each other in what you're doing? Maybe not, they might have their own thing, but knowing that you guys are headed in that same direction, which is, wanting to be successful for your family.
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I don't know where you're getting these things from, but he's batting 100 today. Yeah. So here's the thing. I think what's important is knowing personality types, right? So you might be the one that is, listen, my wife and I, we're complete opposites when it comes to sleeping patterns. First thing in the morning, I'm jumping out of bed and I got to go. I have to do something. She likes to chill out and relax a little bit, and she looks forward to Saturdays. Like I said, my daughter Summer and I, Saturday morning, we're up and we're out. Yeah. So we have to compromise sometimes. Sometimes I'll sit there and I'll lay in bed with her.
Yeah, and you're like got one foot hanging off the bed, like ready to get up.
It's driving me nuts, right? But I also think, you know what? She could be laying in bed with some other guy. And I'm being a little bit funny here.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But the matter is knowing personality types, right? The person that you are with right now, whether you're married or whether you're not, listen, you're with that person because there's some type of uniqueness, right? There's going to be small things that you guys identify with. If you have children, it might be, hey, your unique goal, your combined goal is to make sure that your children go on the right path. Now, and then it's important to have individual goals. You know, my wife loves crafts and arts and things like that I can care less about. But I do care about it in a sense that she's having fun, right? She could care less about the marketing stuff, right? She does care about it in a sense where she knows that, hey, if I'm at a marketing event and it's me, Frank, and it's John and, some of the other buddies and we're hanging out, she knows that, hey, Ty's going to hang out afterwards. I might go back to the hotel or I might go, and meet up with some of my friends. So I think it's important to have that identity and you kind of find out what it is that they gravitate towards and you don't force them. I heard something recently where it says that the more you try to force someone to do something, the more they actually have contempt or they pull away from it. So you got to be cautious with that.
Good. That's good. And listen, I'm coming at this, sometimes I ask questions just thinking my own situation or thinking about someone that I care about. They might see this. And really, I interact a lot more now, my wife and I, with couples in business. And so I'm asking because they can get benefits from this as well. Let's talk about habits.
Cool.
And again, it's similar to environment, right? What's one habit that's helped you, improve your life and your business that you didn't have back in the day?
That has improved life and business. Man, there's a ton of them, but goal setting and reviewing my goals on a regular basis.
Yes.
Which can become, you have to build up the habit. So we're talking about habits. So you have to build up that. So if you write out your goal and writing them out, physically writing them out. Because I got to the point where I started keeping them in my phone and then it's out of sight, out of mind.
Yes.
So now I keep these little pads around. So I'll write them out, and then on a daily basis, I'll write out my top 5.
I got my notepad too. See?
Look at that. Success leaves clues. Look at that. You see that? So I'll write them out on a regular basis, and the best thing that has ever worked for me as it relates to this is writing out my top 3 or 5 goals. And the first thing in the morning, I'm writing them out. There's something about writing things out, physically writing out, that ingrains it into your brain. Right? There's something about that. And then writing it out. So let me go back because I think this is super important. Writing it out first thing in the morning, because when you first wake up, your mind is most impressionable.
Yes. Meaning
it's going to accept the things that you give it when you first wake up. So I had this conversation with my daughter who is 20. I said, listen, the first thing when you first wake up, you don't want to go and put on hip hop music, or not that music is bad, but hip hop music where, you've got these negative connotations that are being thrown in there. You don't want to put that stuff in you first thing in the morning, right? Put something on that's cool. It might be some personal development, some gospel, whatever it might be. But also write down your goals. And the same thing at night, right before you go to sleep, like the first 5 minutes before you go to sleep, write them out as well and review. Because your mind is impressionable and your subconscious is working on that stuff as you're sleeping overnight. I found it's really good to be problem-solving technique as well. If you got a problem, you ask your mind, how am I going to solve this problem? How am I going to solve this? How am I going to solve this? And then
Napoleon Hill mentioned that, right? And talk about that because, a lot of people, they don't believe in, training your subconscious and impressing your subconscious. They might think it's all woo-woo, kind of stuff. Speak on that a little bit on how and what you believe, right? Because what you're going to say is probably the same thing I believe anyway, because, we have some similar characteristics and traits because we're entrepreneurs and we've learned from people.
Right.
What is that as far as energy, thinking, thoughts, what you're putting in your mind? How important is that?
I think the energy is really real. You know, I notice I do a split test on myself every once in a while. And I notice the mornings when I start off with some personal development or just something cool, it could be jazz, it could be classical music. Mm-hmm. When I start that off, I actually have a speaker. It's a waterproof speaker. It's a Bluetooth speaker, but I keep in the shower and I connect to my phone. I go on YouTube, I play something and it's playing on the speaker. The mornings when I do that, man, I'm like ready to go. I could take on the world. No problem could come that I don't feel confident in being able to solve. The mornings when I don't do that and I kind of drift through things and I'm reactive, those are the days where my days are not as good, right? Meditating is another thing. I find that the days when I kind of meditate, and I use an app called Headspace, which is really good. It's guided meditation.
Let me write that down.
Oh my God, this has like been one of the best things for me as far as Headspace. That's it. It's free, but they also have a paid version. You could start off with the free version. The days when I meditate, I'm a much better person to be around, right? Yeah. For everyone. And I'm just more clear. Like, you ever get foggy brain?
Yeah, right? Too much more than I'd like,
Yeah, so there's a few things. So meditation works well for me. And then this right here, I keep this on my desk. It's called NeuroPeak. So NeuroPeak, it helps with clarity, memory, focus, and mental performance. Man, there's so many different things. So that, just being hydrated first thing in the morning. So I always keep water around. Yeah. Right. I'll keep water on my nightstand. I keep it on my bathroom counter. And the first thing before I wake up, I'm doing my gratitude session. Right. So I'm thankful for whatever it may be. Thankful for not living in the projects anymore. Right. Thankful for my wife that's still sleeping there. Thankful for, I got an interview with Frank later on. Man, he could have asked anyone else, but he asked me to be on. I'm grateful for that. So being grateful, listening to something that's going to set that tone, going over my goals, and then being hydrated. So hyperhydration, I'll go in and drink like 2 of these in the morning. Hyperhydration, because it helps with that cellular movement. It helps to get, as we're sleeping overnight, what happens is the body starts to get dehydrated because you're not using the bathroom, you're not drinking, right? So you got 6, 7, 8 hours of just being there, no fluids going into it. That's why I view, and this may not be the most attractive thing.
No, go ahead. Hey, this is real deal. Whatever this is, I want this. I want realness.
All right, cool. So that's why when you use the bathroom first thing in the morning, it's kind of dark, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's because you're dehydrated. Mm-hmm. So hyperhydration, and Tony Robbins talks about it a lot of this, not to this degree, but in a different way, helps to get that cellular movement going, right? I keep a dumbbell by my bathroom counter, so 10 here, 10 here, 10 here, 10 here, and I'll do 30 of those real quick. Again, it gets that movement going.
Yeah.
So those habits, man, the habits really fuel and position your day into the point where you're looking around and you're like, man, why is everyone so grumpy at 12, 1, 2 o'clock? I'm ready to go. It's because those habits have set the platform for you.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. You mentioned hydration. I asked Ron this, and my wife's probably, why are you asking people about water? Because I'm just on this thing with my kids now. I'm trying to get them in the morning because we have little ones, 9, 10, and 11. So when I see them up, as soon as they're up, I say, all right, go get your water. Let's start your day with water. And they're just like,
very smart.
I started that habit like a little over a year ago, and I was a bigger guy. I was like, I'm bigger than I am now. I was like 315, and I've lost like 50, 60 pounds so far.
Wow.
And one of it is just because I haven't cut away all the bad stuff like I need to. But one of the things is I'm starting my day every day now for over a year, just a big old 24 ounces of water as soon as I get up. And if I miss it, if I have to take my kid and I forget, as soon as I get back home, I'll drink it because, like you say, just there's something about it. You just feel different when you started your day that way. And I chugged another 24 ounces right before we started this interview. So it's just a habit that I know has helped me a lot. And then, we're homeschooling one of our kids.
Nice.
And we actually just pulled out our goal is to homeschool all 3. And one of the things my little one, I had him sat down and we watched a video on the importance of water because I don't want him just to learn from daddy that, daddy says drink lots of water. But now he's getting it from a third party, all the benefits, right? Gets rid of toxins and all this other stuff. And I think that one habit, I think, helps a lot of people, that the people that may be suffering from getting going, man, maybe that one habit might change your day now going forward if you just start picking up that habit. Because how many people wake up dehydrated, creaky, achy, you know, they drank a bunch of crap the night before, you know, had a lot of coffee, or they had sodas, or they're out having wine and drinks.
Yeah.
Come on, that's going to affect you right there. So
more than we know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very smart. I like the fact that you got your kids doing that. I did something similar with my son, my youngest son, Tyler, and now he's 14. Mm-hmm. And man, he'll go in and he's coming in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
And he's grabbing water. He'll go and he'll get a cup of water or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I look now and I'm like, yeah.
It helps. And it helps because I don't want to, I tell them, look, you see, Daddy, I'm not the best fit looking guy right now. I don't want you to end up like me. And I'm trying to, you know, show them these little changes we're making, because the more I learn about success and how people have things in common that are going further, these little habits, man, that they throw you off, you know, and
they do.
People don't realize you shouldn't be eating right before you go to bed, because you're going to wake up feeling like crap, you know, and that
you can feel it.
Yeah, you can feel it. It's like that hungover feeling, like you're drinking. And it's like little things like that. People don't realize. No wonder you're having a bad week, because you keep on hanging out and partying with your buddies at night, drinking all this stuff or eating this junk. And of course, you're going to wake up not wanting to do nothing. And
man, you could, like you said, you know, I got another thing where it's not eating after 7 o'clock.
Yeah. You know, I just said to myself today, I was looking at, man, I've been feeling better, you know, this last few weeks. And I'm trying to be intentional of not eating anything past 7 o'clock.
Yeah. It's kind of challenging at times, you know, but it's better to hit your goal sometimes than to just totally say to heck with it.
Yes. No, it is.
You know what I mean? Like our kids are all in activities and things like that. So they may have practice that lasts till 8, 9 o'clock, and then there's a late dinner, right? But to hit it sometimes and just to say the heck with it is really good, man. So you're right on the right track. That's awesome. I love it. And as Jim Rohn says, you can't do well if you don't feel well.
Yeah, you're right. And I think back, I'm like, I need to increase my habits and pick up more better ones as much as I can, because I can see if my health isn't good, then man, it's going to spill over into everything else, right?
It does. You know? It does. It spills over into everything, man. The relationships, your business, and everything. And all of these goals that we're talking about, this is not just business stuff, right? This stuff, it just pours into everything. Relationships with your significance, relationships with your kids, relationships with meditation. You know, meditation, it can help with, there's relationship meditations, right? So there's things that you can do that will help with just everything. So,
yeah. And speaking on what, you know, everything we've been going over, mindset, how important is faith? Let's just make it real broad and general, but faith, how important is having faith and digging deep into finding it when you might feel like you've lost it all?
Yeah. It's super, super, super important. And we have to have triggers. We have to have, I think part of maintaining faith is setting up your environment, right? Because here's what happens. We're not robots. None of us are robots. There's going to be ebbs and flows with everything that we do. You're going to have your highs, then you're going to have your lows. So for myself, when I'm at a period where I know, oh man, this is not a good day, or this is not a good week, I'll have CDs that might be around, and it could be CDs that are going to help restore my faith. And then whatever way you want to do that, right? Because everybody's different. Some people might be religious. Some people may believe in the universe. Some people may, believe in just themselves, whatever it is. And there's no right or wrong. It's all what helps you to regain that faith. But just having your environment, and you've got these elements that are going to be reminders and that are going to be triggers for you. Mm-hmm. With me having sickle cell anemia, right? So one of the things that used to happen is I used to get hospitalized a lot. And I would be in a hospital, especially as I was younger. I've learned to deal with it a lot as I get older. But I would be in hospital for like weeks, just going through a sickle cell anemia crisis. And I remember years ago having a conversation with my wife one of the things that would help me as a coping mechanism when I would go in a hospital, or even when business is up and down, or you got a bad customer, your employees are acting like they lost their mind, or your kids are acting like they lost their mind, is like listening to like a Jim Rohn, or listening to like Les Brown, or listening to Tony Robbins, or any of these other guys that are out there. So I said to my wife, if I ever have to go in the hospital to a point where I'm out of it, man, get the Tony Robbins, get the Les Brown, and put that right there on that tray and play it for me, because that's going to help me to restore my faith.
Right.
You know? So you have to have those triggers. You got to have the reminders and things like that to help you. And another part of that is constantly feeding it to yourself as well. So that when the inevitable does happen, you're not starting from all the way down here. You're at least midway or so, because you've been fueling yourself with the things that are going to help to maintain your faith. So.
That's good. That's good. And for people that are out there and you know, they maybe in business for a while, or they're just getting started, or someone that's already made six figures, they've been making, you know, 200,000, 300,000 a year. What advice can you give them when the crap hits the fan and things go to crap and now they got to rebuild? I mean, what does one do? I mean, obviously, you know, I tell people never give up on going for your dreams. That's the only thing for sure. Just never do that, but build upon that as far as like when crap hits the fan, things went to shit and you got to start over again, or, you know, that one business failed. What do you do to keep on moving and not get distracted or not get discouraged where like, man, let me just go back to what I did before I got into entrepreneurship? Yeah.
So one of the things is look at all of the things that you've accomplished in the past. Right, because sometimes when we have hard times, we kind of forget.
Yeah.
We kind of forget all the cool stuff that we did, and we forget all of the things that we thought were going to be impossible, and we actually hit it and we beat it, right? Or we just made it, and we forget those feelings that we had. So look at the things that you did in the past, and they don't all have to be huge, humongous things. They could be, you know, the times when you might have bought that car, right, that you thought was a little bit out of your league, and you were able to do that. Or, you know, you might have helped with one of your clients to reach a level that you thought was amazing. Mm-hmm. I think that as you start to accomplish different things, goal setting, right? As you start to hit some of your goals, you keep a reminder of those. I keep a goal box right here on my desk. Mm-hmm. And check this out. So it's this box that I have, and it's got a crap load of stuff in here. So these are all goals that I've accomplished like over the last 20 years or so.
Oh, that's nice.
Here's one. Check this out. I wanted to, and sometimes you print things out, right? Mm-hmm. So, man, I got a bunch of stuff in here. So the goal of traveling, right? Traveling the world. I put that on here, right? So this is my wife and I. We were in the Caribbean somewhere, right? This is my son, Tyler. Getting married, right? Mm-hmm. So that was a goal of mine before I actually got married. And this is my wife and I, some of our wedding pictures here.
Oh, cool.
I had a goal of wanting to meet Tony Robbins, right? Mm-hmm. Here's me, Tony Robbins, his wife, and my wife.
That's so cool.
So I put that in there, right? I wanted the goal of just having a cool, you know, just having a happy family. So I printed that out. These are me and our kids. A goal to buy my mom a house. So I ended up buying her a house, and I put the date on there when I wanted it to happen. So all of these things. So now if I go back, right, the goal of being interviewed and the goal of doing all of this stuff, right? So now I go back and I have this hard period, this hard month, or this hard year, because you might have years, right? That hard. I go back and I could be like, hey, Ty, you know what? Don't be so hard on yourself, man. Look at all the cool stuff that you've been able to accomplish, right? You said that you wanted to make $1,000 a month with your own business. Look, you did it, you know? And again, they don't all have to be huge goals, but we have to have reminders, because the mind shuts out all of the cool stuff that we've done, and it only focuses on the stuff that we have not done and what we're so bad at, and it's saying, look at you.
Right.
You can't do jack, right? And then negates all that other stuff. So having these reminders, man, and just being your own cheerleader sometimes, which is cool.
And so that's awesome. And how often do you review it? You just sometimes you'll see it and you just open it up and look at it sometimes too, right? Just to feel
I do. Now, honestly, I'm not that good at reviewing it until something bad happens.
Got you. Yeah.
then I go back. But that's, I used to be at a point where I would go back and look at it, every week or so. But that's not a bad idea. I mean, to go back and just look at them and review them. But my current goals, yes, I review daily.
Yeah.
The ones that I'm currently working on. The ones that I've already hit, I don't review it as much, which, is not a bad idea.
So a couple of things we can review with people. One thing, get started with water, right?
Yep.
Write your goals down.
Mm-hmm.
Review them at night and in the morning, and keep maybe a to-do list and writing not only goals but also your to-do stuff, right? So that you can give you something to check off as you go along through the day. Would that be something you agree
super
with?
important? Yeah, super important.
And then as soon as you start making profit, try to get an assistant.
Yes. Not try. Get an assistant.
Get an assistant. There you go. See?
Yep.
Words, man. You see, you catch yourself. And
have accountability partners too. I got a friend of mine, Jawar, where we have conversations every once in a while. Mm-hmm. And if I say something like, hey, man, Jawar, man, I wish I could do this.
Oh, and he catches you, right?
But you gotta release your ego, right? Because you get it to somebody who doesn't know that stuff, and they're like, "What the heck? Stop correcting me!"
Right? It's like,
but that's what you want.
Yeah.
So like Frank could have been the guy who says, stop correcting me, Ty, but he's embracing that. He's like, yeah, absolutely, you're right, thank you.
No, yeah, and that's one thing. How important it is. How important is it to keep an open mind and to because this, people that don't do much, they criticize people instead of seeing what they can learn from them.
Yep.
So how important is that to be open, to learn from others?
Super, super important. I had just started a new business the other day, and I was not the other day, I'm sorry, about a month or so, 2 months ago. And I mentioned to someone like, man, I'm having fun doing this thing. And this person wants to start a business as well. And I was telling him, listen, you just start slow. Just start working on it. And he's like, well, that's easy for you to do because you already have other businesses that are working out well. And I instantly thought to myself, I didn't go in and say anything to him because I didn't want to have that battle. Sometimes you have to argue with someone just to help them out.
Yeah. And
they should hope that you win that argument, But I'm thinking, man, no, that's not the truth because, in this business, I would have started it just as I did, anything else. Where my motto is I put as less time and as less money into a business until I start to see if it's going to be potentially profitable. Then I go in.
Gotcha.
So open-mindedness is awesome, man. You can't always say, hey, it's easy for Frank to do this, but not me. Mm-hmm. Anytime you catch yourself saying, well, it might be easy for you to do it, but those buts are holding you back.
Yes.
Anytime you give someone else the right of way instead of yourself, other than if you're driving, right, can be deadly for you. So
what else would you say? Let's say you're speaking, and I know this might, John Cornetta, a friend of ours, interviewed me a couple years back, and he had an interview series. I'm not sure what he did with that, but he asked me if you couldn't leave your family anything, you couldn't leave them money, you couldn't leave them an inheritance, nothing. All you could leave your kids is a philosophy or a paragraph or something. What words would that be if you knew you're gone next week and you couldn't leave them anything, but you could leave them this advice? What would that be for your kids?
Wow, that's pretty cool. For me, it would be, do the things. It would be two things. It would be do the things that really make you happy. Sometimes we tell people that money is not an object, right? Not important, but I don't believe in that. Yeah. I think that you have to have, money gives you a level of comfort, and it gives you the ability. Listen, I could not have bought my mom a house,
exactly.
When she really needed it. And I'm not going to go into personal shit, but my mom really needed this house when I was able to buy it for her. Mm-hmm. She had just gotten diagnosed with cancer, and we needed to move her down here and stuff like that. So had money not been a factor, then that would not have been possible. So I would tell them to do the things that you love, right? Providing that it allows you to also take care of yourself in a way that you deserve to be taken care of. Not need to, but deserve, because our deserves put us at a higher level than our needs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we could scrimp by on the needs. My mom used to get only $400 a month on welfare,
Yeah.
you know, because that was all, you know, the government felt that we needed. And in actuality, everyone deserves much more.
Yes.
So that, and then I would have to steal from Zig Ziglar. He says, help as much people get what they want, and you can have anything in the world that you want. Right.
That's
so
good.
there's a few ways that you can do that. My daughter loves cheer and ballet. So, you know, she's not going to be able to take cheer and ballet lessons forever. Well, she probably could, but, you know, you don't want to be 90 taking cheer and ballet lessons, maybe.
Yeah.
But helping other people, right? It's something that she's passionate about. So I'm like, listen, you could open up a cheer and ballet school and you still have fun doing this stuff, and you're teaching other people.
Mm-hmm.
And you're generating income, so you get the best of both worlds. So that would probably be it.
That's good, man. That's good stuff. What do you think about, doesn't matter what business the people are in, how important are following systems or creating systems or creating, like, once you start having a map of what's working for you and what's doing well for you, how important is to set up some systems, some standard operating procedures, some checklists? How important is that?
Yeah, the SOPs are big. I mean, the systems are. So one of the things that happens, right, is especially for entrepreneurs, and you spoke about this as well. We get something that's working, it does extremely well, then we forget about it. And the reason why we forget about it is because it works too well. And we want to go in and do the next thing. But if we have the right system of how we do it, how we set things up, how do we take care of customers, how do we fulfill orders, we can now pass that on to someone else that we talked about before, right? Mm-hmm. The other thing is, if we have someone on our team and that person doesn't work out, which is going to be the inevitable at some point, right? We now have a system. We can come in, we can plug the next person in. Even for yourself, we talked about routines. Like, so for myself, my routine, my morning routine is a system, right? Jump out of bed, my gratitude exercise, that's step one. The next thing, right, go in and hyperhydrate, right? Then after that, write down and review my goals. And then after that, you know, so those are all systems there. Mm-hmm. So some of us, most people actually have systems in place, and we don't even realize it.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. I asked Ron this, I'm not sure how I'm going to ask it now, or how I asked it. I'm not sure how I asked him last time, but as far as leveraging, because one of the things I teach my kids is, you know, your time is valuable, and time, other people's time, is one of the cheapest assets you can buy, right? Is you can buy other people's time. What things do you, for you and your family, do you get other people to do so that Ty doesn't have to be out there? You know, but I know some of our friends might love gardening, and they're out there just because that's their, you know, how
it's it's therapeutic.
Yeah, but as far as
not this guy.
Yeah, exactly. What do you outsource? I mean, because like right now we Ron, and this is why I'm doing this too. I'm doing this for selfish reasons too. Ron mentioned he started putting his kids to do the laundry at 8. Yeah. So I let my children hear him say that, and guess what? Yesterday, laundry. They're learning, right? The pants are all crooked and they're not hanging on there right, but they're learning because guess what? Because man, me and my wife, we shouldn't be doing it. We're spending too much time doing that, and there's 6 of us in this house.
Right.
So
just like here.
You can spend, 6-7 hours on that, because you have piles and piles. So
there's always laundry,
right?
Yeah.
So what do you outsource as far as so that you don't have to do it, or your wife doesn't have to do it? Because I want people to hear, don't be cheap. If you start making good money, start reinvesting so that you can spend time on what's important. So share so everyone watching what you might outsource, that other than like your employees for your business, other things maybe domestically at home.
Yeah. So the first thing is for understanding what's important to you, right? So understanding what's important to you and what matters to you. And even before that, understanding that, man, unfortunately, we all have a very limited amount of time on this earth, right? So we all have a very limited amount of time on this earth. Even if you live to be 100 years, 100 years on the grand scheme of things is a short amount of time. Right, especially when you have people that you love and you got things that you want to do and you've got this bucket list and you have 100 things on it and you've only accomplished 10 of them, right? Or there's things that charities or that you want to give back to. So looking at that and saying, if it takes 2 hours or 4 hours a week to do laundry, And there's 56, how many weeks in there a year? 56 a year, 52, right? Times 4, right? That's like 208 or whatever that might be. Do I want to spend 208 hours a year doing laundry times however many years you might be doing that? And then you look at that and you say, wow, that's a huge amount of time invested in just doing laundry when I can be, spending that time on date night with my wife or with my husband, or I could be learning more about, how to play the bass guitar or some of these other things that you want to do. And I'm using my own self in this one. Yeah. Bass guitar is one of my things. So like cutting the grass, I've never cut the grass here where we live at, ever. And we've been here for 11 years, right? I got a guy and they come by, he's got a company. I pay him $60 to come and cut the grass. They do it twice a week, not twice a week, twice a month, right? And it takes them maybe about an hour to do it. They do the landscaping. And for me, man, that's an hour that I don't have to do that. Now, whether I take that hour now and I spend it into my wife, investing in my children or making slime with my daughter, right? That hour that I put into making slime with her, it's got to be a memory.
Yes.
Right? It's going to be a memory there versus the hour I could have put into cutting my grass, which is not going to create a memory for me. So you got to invest your time is money, and it's so much more valuable than money. Invest that time into things that are going to be, those things that come back. So now I put this time into my daughter, and we're building slime and we're being silly. We're recording it. She now, once she gets older and she has her own children, she's going to say, man, I remember these times with my dad and we would make the slime and he's making all these silly faces. And she's putting that into her kids. And not only that, but she's looking for a guy, hopefully, that is going to be kind of similar to her dad. So you see how this stuff, it creates like this butterfly effect down the line. The other thing is, you have to be conscious of what your time is worth. So if you have a business and in that business, you can, in an hour, you can generate $25 an hour. We'll keep it even. But then, you go out and you have to go in and, I don't know, change the oil on your car, right? And that's going to take you an hour. Why not go in and hire someone or go somewhere and have it done for $19, right? And you save that time, and then you can make $25 an hour in that same time. I hope that makes sense in a way.
Yeah, no. And the reason I ask these questions is because, everyone watching, listening is at different levels, right, in their business or whatever. So it's this question so they can see, man, these people, they say similar things because over time they're going to see, they watch this interview, they listen to this interview, and a lot of you guys are saying the same thing even before I even ask a question. So there's just certain characteristics and mindsets that people have in common, and I want people to see that,
And the good thing about it is you could adopt a lot of this stuff, right?
Yes.
None of us are born with these things.
Exactly. And real quick, how important is it for people to realize that they don't have to be rocket scientists to get things going?
Yeah. Not at all. Listen, I own a publishing company, and I failed English 101, not one time, but twice.
There you go.
So I'm the last guy who should be teaching people how to write books and who should have written books and who should have a publishing company and speaking on the topic of how do you market and how do you write your books and how do you get fans and readers and things like that. So no, I think that's one of the biggest myths. I think if you're not the brightest, well, maybe that's not the best way to put it. I find that sometimes the people that overcomplicate things the most tend to be the brightest. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. They're so smart and they're overthinking it where they never get started, or they're perfectionists. Yeah.
And I don't want to say it in a mean way or anything because I don't want that to come off the wrong way. But yeah, that's exactly it. I had a conversation with a guy the other day and super smart guy. He's like, Ty, man, I can't get started in business and I've tried it and this and that. And I said, well, tell me a little bit about that. Like, what has been some of the roadblocks? And he told me about the way that he would approach it. And after 5 minutes of listening, I said, you know what? You're overthinking the whole thing. Like every single step, you're overthinking it. Just go out and do it and fail fast. Go out there, make the mistakes, learn from your mistakes, and say, I'm not going to do that again. What's next? All right. And then just fail fast. So that's it.
Perfect. We're going to, I know your time is valuable, and we've been here at a good hour. I want to say thank you for your time. What's one thing Ty would do differently if he was starting over again?
If I'm starting all over again, I would probably hire people quicker. I would start to outsource faster.
That's good.
I would start to, get out, because when I first got started, I really refused to let things go. You know what I mean? Like, as far as letting of it, because I always thought that, hey, if I got to explain it to them, or if they're not going to do it as good as I could do it, you know what I mean? I might as well do the freaking thing myself. Instead of realizing that, again, it's better to have someone do something 70% and get it done than it to still be on your to-do list 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks later or a year later.
Yeah. Good. That's good. Let's see.
Hey, real quick, none of the major companies that you look at right now, none of the Googles, the Amazons, the eBays, none of those companies were built by one person doing it all.
No.
Nothing great has ever been accomplished just by one person doing it all. You know, even if you look at some of the stuff like the civil rights movement, or, the NASA movement, the space movement, any of those things, there might have been one person, even in our businesses, right? We might be here, but if my wife did not help out with the kids and taking them places, then I would not be able to get as much done.
No, of course.
So.
Yeah, no one gets to the top alone, and people think, oh, he's so great, but there's people in the background you might not see.
Absolutely.
And that's what's important about recognition too, is recognizing people on your team and things like that. So yes, remember this, people, build a team as soon as you can so that you can grow faster and leverage their talents so you can move ahead quicker. Ty, I want to say thank you for your time. I'm excited to put this up and put it on my YouTube and share it with everyone. You guys got good value from this. Share it and share with somebody who might want to see this or need to see it. As always, thank you, man. I appreciate it. And thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Hey, this was fun. And you guys follow this channel if you're not subscribed already, because I'm definitely going to subscribe. And I think that this could be part of that. We talked about making sure that you go in and you put the right things in you on a regular basis. This is an example of that. So going in and looking at the interviews that Frank is doing here and watching them, because you're going to get something new out of everyone that you watch. And you're also going to see similarities. So again, like Tony Robbins says, success leaves clues. So you'll see all of these clues. Hey, thanks, Frank. I appreciate you.
Thank you, sir. Guys, we'll see you on the next one. Have a great one.